It's 8 o'clock somewhere. Do you know who's taking your children? uh, Swazdo-lah, surah. I am Surface, the procrastinating space pirate. And this is a weird little thing I've decided to do because, I don't know, I'm weird like that, I guess. Yep. So, yeah, this is just me shitting the shit, really. Hey, Grumpy. Uh, you know what? Screw it. Pop my link in if you want to come join. So yeah, if you're familiar with Shadowrun, then you probably get the reference to Drek, although apparently it's also old Yiddish. But either way, it's talking shit with the space pirate. So yeah, um, and I'm just here to talk shit. Really, I mean, I got nothing, but you know. uh, but yeah, anyway, um, I guess I can start off by saying how finally being able to get a hold of the Tales of the Valiant books has been ugh, a lot of fun. Um, oh man, I've it's kind of difficult to know where to start with them because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I've probably mentioned about hey Grumpy, can you hear me? Hello,
Hello.
hello, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh, oh, well. Yeah, so I've in my TFV video, I've already kind of touched upon and we're back again.
Greetings. Sorry,
Greetings.
StreamYard sort of was weird for a second there.
That's all good. uh, how are you doing, man? Oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh yeah.
I'm here.
How are you doing?
Had a few problems at the beginning there with StreamYard. I don't know what happened.
Ah,
Had to reload everything. So
that's all good.
yeah. So how are
I'm
you?
probably.
I think it's evening for you now.
Yep. It's 11 p.m.
11 p.m. Wow, pretty late. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
it's 9:30 a.m. here. So
Unfortunately, it's like the best time to be able to do this without the noise of the children in the background. So yeah.
yeah, I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And is it Sunday evening or Saturday evening? That's the part I
Sunday.
never. Sunday. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So,
I'm an hour away from Monday.
yeah.
And then being up at 7 a.m. to start the day. And yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's not consider the boring work stuff and talk about more fun gaming stuff
Oh, yes,
instead.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying about uh, Tales of the Valiant.
Hmm.
Because they've added the Mechanist as a core class in the system, which is basically their version of the Artificer.
Hmm.
And I'm potentially going to be stealing some stuff that's part of the class for my character in in a 3.5 game. So
Okay.
that's gives you an idea of just how good I think it actually is. So yeah.
I never really actually got into the Artificer as a PC class. I could see it more as an NPC class where they build stuff and, you know, PCs want some weird device. You go to the Artificer, maybe he can do it, maybe he, kind of like the
Mm.
Alchemist. I don't know if you remember that class
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the,
yep.
which is, it wasn't a PC class at all. It was only meant to be an NPC class. None of
Mm.
their spells were combat related or defense related. It was all just, you know, making potions and salves and other things like that. So I see artificers like that. That's my head canon.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can see how it's fun to play also, So if
Yeah.
people, if people enjoy it, hey, go for it. So
I guess I like the aspect of it where it's kind of the quantum engineer or quantum physicist in a fantasy setting where they're just like, if you just kind of twinkle around with this just a little bit, you can just like, you know, magic item now, normal
yeah,
weapon, magic weapon.
yeah. I
uh,
could see that. There's also years ago I was at this talk about engineering and how the person was talking about how people are divided into like the dreamers and
oh,
then
yep.
and they say, oh, and the example he gives is flying, so, oh, it'd be so much fun to fly, and then it's like, most common sense, quote unquote, people say, well, no, you can't fly, you don't have wings, and then you bring in an engineer or an artificer who says, well, actually, if you were to build these structures like this and blah blah blah, you have an airplane and you can fly. uh so you could see it like that,
Yeah.
enabling dreams, if you will, or enabling the imagination. So like you
Yeah,
said,
that,
normal weapon, magic weapon.
yes.
I wish I could have a magic weapon. Well, you don't have, a high level magic user, and here comes the artificer, and he goes, oh, well, actually, if you do this thing, boom, magic weapon. Yeah.
uh, it's very much on that side of things too.
Yeah.
The game that I'm currently playing in as a player, yay,
Hmm.
in 3.5, um, half of my job so far in the game has been to basically analyze all the magic items that they come across, because
Okay.
apparently in the past they've had a very bad case of cursed magic items.
Oh, I see.
So now it's just like, you know, nope, harmless, harmless, harmless. Ooh, not harmless. I'll keep that one.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah, one of the games I'm playing, we found a cursed item, which we
mm.
didn't realize was cursed until we brought it back to be identified, and then
Yep.
we decided we're keeping it because we want to screw over an NPC that we really dislike, and it's basically a a ring of monster summoning. And what
Oh,
it in game mechanics terms, it means that instead of, say, let's say you're doing cross country travel, instead of checking like twice per day, you're supposed to check like once an hour, and if you're in a dungeon, instead of like once an hour, it's once per turn or something. It's you check for random monsters just a lot more often, and we figure we can go, and you don't need to wear the ring for it to be active because it's cursed, so we just want to hide it in the guy's castle so that he keeps getting monsters showing up, and thus drain
oh,
his resources, like basically means he has to always deal with that, and it probably won't prevent his evil plans, but it'll delay them, is what we're hoping.
you should not have told me that story, because now I'm going to do something like that with my artificer in the
Go
3.5
for
game.
it. I mean, it's not
That that is the most beautiful idea I've ever heard.
yeah.
Oh, there's gonna be so. Oh, yeah.
We're hoping it works out. Well, the problem is we have to travel with the stupid thing, so we have to deal with the curse in the meantime. So,
Hey, GameMasters.
hello.
What a whirlwind the past 24 hours has been.
What happened?
Just me being stupid, I guess. That's the extent of it.
Oh, well, it looks like the video's still there, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't taken it down, but I haven't received an email yet either, so we'll see.
God. Yeah, so if you're unaware,
Yeah, I'm unaware
Grumpy,
because I was actually until yesterday evening I was out of town for a couple of
okay.
days, so I didn't really have internet access, which is sometimes a good thing.
It can be a good thing. Yeah. So GameMasters got his copy of the 2024 D&D Plays Handbook, and
the new one. Okay.
yes, his review copy, and then he had to take it down because he got an email.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you reviewed it, and they didn't want you to have the review up.
yeah, I guess because it was under embargo, and I didn't realize that until probably about an hour after, or maybe 30 minutes after I did that live stream. And yeah, Wizard sent me an email saying, "Hey, by the way, this is under embargo." So I scrambled to delete it, scrub it, and ended up redoing a different live stream that where we just merely talked about the book. Didn't show anything from the inside of it. So,
Okay.
yeah, usually when they send stuff like that, there's a slip of paper in with the material.
Yeah, usually it's right on top in big print.
Right. And there was absolutely nothing. It was just a box with brown paper with the book inside bubble wrap in that. No documentation whatsoever. So, yeah, for them to deploy that information via email, I don't know, it's a little weird, but I mean, I'll abide by it. No big deal. It is what it is.
Well, that was a bit of a dumb move on their part, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I guess I should have realized it, maybe, but
yeah, but in your case, you're quote unquote one guy. But what if they'd sent the email to some some website or something that's a group of people, and then one person gets that email, but the package arrives at someone else's place.
Right.
They do the review and put it up, and you're assuming that perfect communication and that the message will go through. That's a stupid thing. You should include that embargoed until
right. With the actual item. Yeah.
With the actual item. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've been in years in marketing. That's kind of what my career path has been. And that was my 2 cents back to them is, hey guys, I'm fine to abide by this. I'm happy to abide by this, but maybe on the next few books, include that information with the book itself.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
You live and learn, or you don't live long.
Exactly.
So what's catch me up? I know my computer decided to do an update like 20 minutes before I was supposed to jump in here. So catch me up. What have I missed?
Not much.
Introduction, explaining that Drek means shit, and then talking mechanists and artificers and how we feel about them being player characters or NPCs.
So we can go full on cuss here.
Oh yeah, fucking hell.
Okay, let me take a deep breath and see how many no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna. I'll be myself. It takes a lot to get me riled up, and even this whole thing, this email thing, it's not even got me riled up. So,
well, see, that's the good thing about having an Australian running the stream. One, I'm not trying to do this for any kind of financial gain.
Sure.
I'm doing it purely to make content that I want to see.
Right.
So I want to see someone say cunt. So
Yeah. Yeah, just I don't know. There's just something about it just doesn't come out.
Don't worry. I'll get you there.
So what? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
What?
Australia. So I'm going to ask some stupid questions.
Go for it.
Do you guys get snow?
Yes, in one spot, but
In
it's
one
not
spot.
Snowtown.
Isn't it up in the mountains somewhere?
Yes, it's up in the
Yeah.
mountains in the southern area around Victoria, New South Wales border.
Okay.
There's a spot that's just high enough that because it gets so cold, it does have snow. But the place there is not called Snowtown. But there's another place in Australia called Snowtown, but it's never actually snowed there.
Kind of like Greenland versus Iceland.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. How nasty are the sharks there?
I haven't been bitten yet.
Have you bitten a shark yet?
No, but I almost accidentally punched a dolphin.
Whoa. Okay, I got to hear this one.
Back in my youth, I used to do a lot of surfing and bodyboarding, right?
Sure.
Beaches, they're great around here. However, at one point, a fin came up next to me. And I started to panic because,
Rightfully so, sure. Fin,
right,
water, yeah.
I'm in all the exact areas where that's either best case scenario, that's someone playing a prank. Worst case scenario, that's a great white shark.
Right.
So I'm just like, and then notice that the what do they call them? The
blowhole?
nose part, basically, of the front of the creature is kind of like the tip of a hockey stick.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
oh wait, that's not a shark. It's a porpoise.
It was just trying to show you where the treasure was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, wee. It's like,
Wow.
how you doing? Okay, no punching.
Yeah, I think I would have had to change my swimming trunks at that point.
Hey, gaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was one of my
Yeah.
I feel like close calls. I had another one. Again, it was dolphins. When I was a lot younger, me and my cousin had gone out to the sandbar at the local beach. And so, deep waters. So beach, deep waters, sandbar, deep waters. We're at the sandbar, and then we're heading back in. Just started heading back in, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of movement between us, between the sandbar and the beach. And it's like,
We're cut off.
Yeah.
And then something goes past us, and I freak the frack out and just bolt.
Oh, wait. You said there was cussing on this, and you just said frack?
Oh yeah. Well, I was like 7 at the time. I wouldn't have
Oh,
said
okay.
frack. Yeah.
Fair enough. Wait,
So-
7?
Yeah.
And you didn't know this word at 7?
No, I had good manners back then. As soon as my grandma died, the filter disappeared. Because there was no one to hit me for swearing anymore.
Do you have your own swear jar that you just kind of plink into every now and again and then go, oh, wow, look, could go buy a boat?
No, I'd run out of money before I even paid any bills. I get my freaking paycheck at the start of the fortnight and then just put it in there because I've got a backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So, anything else you want to know about?
What's the number one go-to game to play? Not necessarily like role-playing game, but like video game stuff. What has always been your number one? Life is shit. It's hard as hell, and I just need to unwind, tune out, and just kill some pixels. What's been your go-to video game over the years?
So, before children?
Sure. Well, I mean, before, during, and now. I mean, just curious.
Well, right up until kids came along, it was Activision's Battlezone game, and Homeworld. A lot of strategy games, basically.
Right.
And around 2014, whenever Warframe came out, it became Warframe for a while. But then when Tencent basically bought up Digital Extremes and the beginning of that change that they're now fully into, I kind of dropped off, which is probably a good thing because that slow decline eventually really stopped once I had children. So
yeah, a lot of that does. Yeah.
Especially when my son, he was our firstborn. He wouldn't sleep at night unless I was holding him.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to game with one arm, basically all I can do is move one hand. He was really small when he was born. He was like, he was premature too. So that explains a lot. But
really small.
Oh yeah.
Hey, that was me. That explains me too.
What, premature?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it comes out as good as you then.
Yeah, let's see. I was supposed to be born October 20th or something. And the doctors decided to induce labor when on October 2nd because he had a golf tournament to go to. So
that used to be a thing.
Yeah. So I was I was about 15 days, 18 days early. Now, I mean, I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, I have no idea if the cooking time was, like when you're trying to bake a cake or something. I mean, if you take it out 18 minutes early, it's not going to be a very good cake. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. Does that explain a few things about me?
I think that analysis example explains a few things.
I'm a bad cake.
The cake is a lie.
Exactly, the cake is a lie.
Yeah, I was not cooked long enough. Someone had to play golf.
Well, if it's not cooked enough, then it's only a fib, so you're okay.
Yeah. It also depends on what kind of cake too, because
yeah,
it's more. I think I'm more of a pie person myself.
I like both.
Also, I've got to keep in mind that you guys refer to cakes and biscuits and stuff differently to what we do. So,
well, see, so a cake for me is like the layers of stuff with frosting on it. You put candles in it, you blow that out. To me, that's cake. A biscuit is like a floured little breakfast biscuit. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It goes, butter is good on it.
Jellies, not at all what I think of as a biscuit. So.
Jam. What Grumpy Old Slan, what would your definition of biscuit be?
So biscuit is like a cookie, but one that doesn't have any filling.
So like an Oreo cookie, but without the filling?
Well, yeah, no, yeah. Well, just the one of
A
the
wafer.
black, yeah,
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the black wafers. That would be what I call a biscuit.
And
And
by the way,
also,
yeah.
to add to the complexity, I'm up in Canada, so we're actually 3 countries here, I believe,
Yeah.
unless I'm wrong about where you are, Brian.
No, I'm in the United States, yeah.
And I'm in Quebec, the French-speaking part. So biscuit actually which is where the
Biscuit.
word biscuit comes from,
Right.
just means cookie. So,
And I'll say this: I think that Nabisco, is it Nabisco that makes Oreos? Whatever the company is that makes Oreos, they are failing so hard at selling their cookies. They really need to sell them without the filling, like as an option.
yeah.
Without the white stuff that's in the middle.
Mhm.
I would eat that stuff all day. I'd make myself sick off of it. I'd be 400 pounds easy.
Mhm.
Is this what you mean by talking Drek? I mean,
Nice to see you too.
Brian, behaviors, Brian.
Good morning, everyone.
hey now.
Good morning. Yeah, you haven't missed much. Just explaining that Drek is shit in Shadowrun, and that this is basically just talking random stuff, basically. So
I sort of assumed as much.
yeah.
That's
And let me tell you, it has been random talk.
Oh yeah.
We started talking about artifices, and now we're talking about cake and biscuits.
And Oreo
again,
cookies.
as I said in chat, pie is superior to cake.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, like almost any pie. Almost. Trying to think of a pie that I wouldn't eat.
Mincemeat pie, I'm not too big fan of that.
I'll give you that one.
Rhubarb pie.
Also that. And they always mix it with strawberry.
Rhubarb
It's like-
raspberry pie is so good.
But I also wouldn't want a rhubarb cake either. So
That's fair. Anyway, regardless, it's like if I have it, and the sad part is that Kim and I are completely opposite. She hates pie. She'll like eat the pie filling, hates the crust in all forms, but absolutely loves cake. And it's like, I can eat cake, I guess, but it's not a pie. So
what is cheesecake? Is it actually a cake or is it a pie? It goes in a pie crust, but it's called cheesecake.
I think it would be more. Well, see, and then
from that you make the logic leap to, okay, so is a pizza a sandwich?
Pizza is not a sandwich.
But what if you fold it in half? It's got a.
Then it's a hot dog. Or a taco, depending. It's an Italian taco. There you go.
It's an Italian taco.
Or no, pizza's an Italian tostada. There you go.
I'm having regrets on doing this on a weekly basis.
I'm just gonna say this was your idea.
I know.
I just happened to be awake for it. So
And I'm glad that you are.
thanks. Anyhow. I've got nothing on the Artificer outside of Eberron is my favorite D&D setting. So, not that I've ever played much, but that's a whole separate issue.
You see, I collected the 4th edition books for Eberron, right? And that's very much why I fell in love with the setting, because a lot of the 4th edition books had so much of the lore in it. And I'd read up on the wikis and
4th or 3rd? Because
4th edition.
Because 4th only had 2 books and an adventure.
Yeah, 2 books and an adventure. That was all 4th edition had. I missed 3rd edition and only saw the books for 4th edition, so I got them, but I only ever had them for the lore and stuff in them, right?
Right.
But it wasn't until a couple of years later after that when, like, stuff started appearing online, shall we phrase it, and I was able to get those 3rd edition copies and actually see, like, oh wow, there's like 10 times more lore on this setting, and it is all just and this is the part I don't like about what they did with it in 5th edition, because everyone's first assumption is that it's some kind of steampunky setting. It is so not a steampunk setting.
I've actually heard it compared to a cyberpunk setting.
That doesn't make any sense either.
Well, the thing it reminds me of the most is the early China medieval books, like Perdido Street Station and Iron Council. I don't know if any of you have read those, but the guy's clearly been influenced. The guy was clearly a gamer before he wrote these fantasy novels, and there's this weird combination of magic and fantasy with steampunk age technology. Like, there's actually, like, the main big city where the first book takes place, which is built around the body of a gigantic beast. In fact, one of the neighborhoods is called the Ribs because these huge ribs stick out of the ground. But it also have, like, transit rail, like the early subway in London, which is 150 or so years old. So something like that, and they have he changes the spelling, so it's not electrical, but it's electrical with a Y instead of an E. The second E is changed to a Y just to make it a bit more magical. And there's all these different races and birdmen and cactus men and all sorts of weird shit everywhere. But that's what Eberron kind of reminds me of more than anything else.
There was a series of books that Stephen King wrote called The Dark Tower. And in one of those, he goes to Roland, the main character, goes through a portal of sorts and finds himself on kind of in a weird, bizarre wilderness of an alternate Earth. And in it, there is a mechanical bear that he runs across and a rundown train, I think called Blaine the Train. And that entire setting reminded me very much of Eberron. It's just a small little slip of a setting, in how it was described, but it I don't know, it just always made me think that that's kind of what Eberron. And I don't know much of the lore of it, other than what I read in 3rd edition. But it was, I don't know, it always reminded me of, this is what D&D would be like if there was a catastrophic event in the world, in the realm of fantasy. And this is, civilization trying to pick up the pieces.
And that's very much what it was to me. So keep in mind, I never started playing D&D until 3rd edition. And even then it was very limited. And so Eberron was brought out as, hey, here's our first brand new setting. It's specifically designed for 3rd edition. And I thought they actually had some interesting premises in the fact that if it exists in the core books, so Player's Handbook, DMG, Monster Manual, it's all going to exist in Eberron. But then it's like, okay, there have been, well, at the point would have been like 30, 35 years of world building for Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk. And, while early on, those were just kind of hodgepodge. You've heard, there's horror stories about some of the early stuff. It's like, here is I think it's one of the Beck Me Gazetteers where it's like, here's the safari park where we just threw all this stuff in, and you're like, this makes no sense from a world building perspective. And so like it was interesting seeing how they tried to put all of that in and have logic and reasons for where things are, what they do. And so for me, it was like, okay, I don't really have attachment to any of the other settings, so I kind of went all in on it. And I think it's interesting. A lot of people don't, but regardless, I think they did some fun stuff. And I was going to make another point, but I forget it, so I'll let someone else talk.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, like, with Eberron, your main source of like demons and or fiends in that setting are Rakshasa, because they're the fiends that exist on the material plane, and the way that the setting presents its different types of monsters and such are bound by not necessarily what their racial descriptor is, but what their sub descriptor is. Like a Balor, a pit fiend, a fire elemental, and a Ifrit are all from the fire elemental plane.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas aberrations all come from Kyber, the land below.
Right. And I think that's one of the strengths of it, is that they were able to do stuff that makes sense, more or less.
Consolidate, yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, here's all this stuff that we've built over the last 30 years. Let's stop just throwing it in hodgepodge and it doesn't make any sense why it's here. Oh, the point I was going to make is about like the cyberpunk stuff. It's also very much presented as far as a kind of like a noir setting, a lot more detectives, heist style adventures, things like that. You've got a train. Tell me you're not going to do a heist when you've got a train that's like core to the setting. So that's a lot of the arguments I've heard comparing it more to cyberpunk in a fantasy setting. So, which
I think is the wrong approach, because when you look at the literal bibliography that they present as the things that inspired the setting, it's Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, Sleepy Hollow, the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. Like, these are all kind of that kind of action, adventure, investigative, like,
pulp, noir, detective, Shadowrunny, cyberpunk kind of stuff.
But like that kind of style may have influenced like Shadowrun and stuff, but like they applied it in a different way with Eberron. Like, you've got the lightning rail, which is that train system, but if you actually break down what the lightning rail is, it's a elemental rained to a bunch of carriages that it's floating along behind behind it. Like, sure. It's not there's not like an engine and stuff going. They've just harnessed a elemental.
Well, but I mean, right. And what would you expect from a setting that's based on magic as opposed to technology? Because then you bring in the dragon marks, and you've got long range communication. You've got
the banking system.
Right. You've got the banking system. You've got the halflings and their ability to just create food from the dragon mark. And so they set up a series of inns and taverns all across the world. So it's obviously not straight cyberpunk. You're not, grafting limbs and things like that, but it's still,
you're grafting elemental limbs.
I don't remember them doing that.
Yeah.
I just don't remember it.
It's in Magic of Eberron.
Okay.
Yeah.
My point is just, I've heard it compared to that. I haven't played it enough to say definitively either way, but I do see enough in it that it's like, okay, I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah. Why do you think that? So, D&D 5th edition came out 2014. That's when we got all the main core books, the original core books. So in 10 years, why do you think that they haven't developed Eberron into 5th edition more fully, as a follow-up question to that, why do you think that they have not, and I'm specifically talking about Wizard of the Coast, why do you think that they have not developed a completely new setting specifically for 5th edition?
I don't think they care.
I don't think they've got the talent.
Yeah.
I'd see. Okay, so them not caring, I think I can understand. Them not having the talent, I have to question, because I refuse to believe that over the course of 10 years that there hasn't been one single employee that has had a brilliant idea for a setting. I
Yeah.
mean, with the amount of
But what
employees that they've
happens
had
with
shuffle through it.
companies, what happens with companies is when they're not sure what to do, what they'll do is hire a consultant, right?
Yeah.
And a good consultant will check out the company, figure out who are the employees that actually do the best work. The 20% of the employees do 80% of the work. They'll figure out what those 20% are. Then they'll find out what these people actually want to do and tell the bosses that that's what they should do.
And also don't forget,
Wizards of the Coast has either not hired good consultants, or they didn't bother, or they didn't listen to their consultants. I think the other thing that happens is that you look at some of the best settings that have come out in the past, actually all the best new settings that have come out for 5th editions, and I'm not very familiar with all of them, so I'll just mention the one that I know, which is the Drakenheim setting that the Dungeon Dudes have put out.
Mhm.
I figure when these things first came out, WotC thought, that's not important. They're not going to make money. And in the last 5 years or so, these people have exploded and made tons of money using their own settings, because of the OGM and stuff. They were allowed to publish them and make money off of them. And I think WotC's seeing this as a missed opportunity, which is one reason they tried to kill off the OGM, what was it, a year and a half ago? Stuff like that. Nah, not really. We're just wondering why they didn't publish any new settings. But that's basically I think
No, it
they
makes
didn't think
sense,
it was worth it. It was less, and they didn't hire good consultants, or they really didn't have any of that 20% of employees who would be really good at that.
No.
Well, but I would actually say that this problem is actually older than 5th edition. Okay, I think
I'll give you that, yeah.
But I think it definitely goes back to at least 4th edition, because for 4th edition, they specifically said we're not doing campaign settings like we used to. No more, like think about it. You can go and have a shelf that's just Eberron, that's just Forgotten Realms, and they're like, nope, we're not going to do that anymore. And so that's why you would get, core book, supplemental book, or let me rephrase that: setting book, supplemental book, adventure. And that's all they would do for any of the settings that came out. Right. And they're like, oh yeah, no, this has to be good. Whereas under 3rd edition, they were putting out books, regardless of the sales figures, which obviously I don't have, but they were putting out at least one campaign setting book for a campaign setting every single month for years.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and while I don't have access to those sales numbers either, I mean, if we look at that from that perspective of a sales perspective, it must not have done that great. Otherwise, I mean, logic would say that they'd continue with that formula. And so, I mean, I'm assuming, I ate that kind of stuff up. I'm a major lore freak. I love lore material. I love world building, and I don't necessarily care about an adventure that a pre-made adventure that doesn't appeal to me in any way. I prefer to create my own based on the lore that's provided. And I maybe I'm one out of 100 that likes that, and maybe the 99 other people out there enjoy the adventure. So maybe that's part of the reason why they kind of stopped doing it once 4th edition came around. And maybe that's part of the reason too, going into 5th edition, that they haven't created a new setting. I don't know.
Yeah. So my experience
just quickly
is,
with this.
go ahead.
Just quickly with this. Ask Disney about their Lucasfilm purchase.
Yeah. So my experience actually, Brian, is different from yours because I actually dropped out of gaming shortly after second edition came out because real life, and I only got back into it like 5-10 years ago. So like the details of what happened with third and fourth edition, I'm less aware of. I mean, I was peripherally aware of there were new editions, but I didn't play them, didn't follow them. But I think what you're describing when they were putting out one setting book per month, it's kind of like that story about the accountant who works for the movie studio, and he's being told, okay, we're going to put out, 10 movies, and 3 of them are going to lose money. 6 of them are going to break even, and one of us is going to make us millions. And the accountant goes, well, why don't you just make that one? Except you don't know ahead of time which one it is. So my feeling is that they put out all these settings, they saw what stuck, and they kept using those. Maybe I'm wrong on this. And
Yeah, but
I think they
yep.
should keep putting out settings to see what sticks, because you see this with everything. You see this with old comic books. The number of superheroes we don't even know because they didn't stick. Every month there'd be a new superhero titles back in the 50s and 60s because they were trying all sorts of stuff. They should just toss, one slim setting book, see what works. Oh, this one's really working. Let's put a supplement to that one. But then keep putting out new ones too, because you never know what will stick.
Mm.
Well, but that's also kind of part of the problem is that under starting with the OGL, and the thing is, actually, I think it actually goes back farther than it, because I was reading something the other day talking about how in the early days, Gygax was like, no, adventures aren't going to sell. Nobody wants adventures. We're just going to put out all this setting material. And so then they licensed it off to Judges Guild, saying, okay, yeah, you can make official D&D adventures. And Judges Guild just starts raking in money. And so Gygax is pissed because it's like, wait a second, we just licensed this off. They're making money. Why can't we make the money? And so it's definitely a long-term problem, even before WotC. But I think it's also interesting because it's one of those things that just doesn't make a lot of sense, because for 5th edition, it just seems like they went all in on adventures, which it's like, oh, here's a new book of which 10 pages might be useful to a player. Other than that, it's just to the GM. And in the under 3rd edition, you could get your splat books, your setting books, your equipment books, whatever, and still appeal to that broad base of players and not just to the GM who's going to be buying books every month. So I don't understand the new methodology at all. But I essentially backed off from 5th edition a long time ago anyways. So
well, I mean, take for example, I feel one of the best unused potential settings was Journeys to the Radiant Citadel. I think that the Citadel itself being on an asteroid, which is actually a dead god floating around, I think that there easily could have been more lore. But I mean, we got, like you said, we got about 10, 18 pages or so of the Citadel, and the rest of the book was all adventure. And I mean, hell, if they pushed out a 200-page book of setting lore for that, for the Citadel itself, I'd buy it. I don't know how many other people would. I would.
Well, and I don't know. Maybe it's just a change in mentality. I mean, I agree. That was I still have my 4th edition books, and I still have the Eberron books, and I still have my 3rd edition books, and I still have my 3rd edition Eberron books. I got rid of all the Forgotten Realms stuff because I didn't care. I've got the 4th edition, and I've got the campaign settings that they put out for that. I've got, 5th edition and a couple of books. But yeah, I want the settings. I'm recollecting all of the Rifts books, which every single book is just a setting book. So yeah, I think there's usefulness out there, but that's the other thing. I mean, you're going to influence your customer base based on the products that you put out anyways. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a lot there. It doesn't have to be these, and that's the other thing. It doesn't have to be $50, $60 hardcover full color books every single time. Give me a soft cover 100-page book that's, here's this corner of the Radiant Citadel. There's going to be 5 more, just to flesh it out. I don't know. I've not looked at Radiant Citadel at all.
No, I mean, but that's fair. I mean, that's it could be. I mean, it could just as easily be Tales from the Infinite Staircase or Quest from the Infinite Staircase as well. I mean, it's another anthology, or Candlekeep Mysteries, or Tales from the Yawning Portal. I mean, there's, and that's another one. I mean, take Tales from the Yawning Portal. Yes, we have a collection of older classic adventures that were updated to 5th edition in that, but there's this whole other side to it, this whole portal or this whole inn side to it that we get very little information about. And I mean, I would like to have a bit more information. I mean, I can create that information for myself, but I think too that the player could benefit from it by, I don't know, if a specific player buys, I don't know, say a lore book, and I'm talking player, not their character, but a player buys that lore book. You know what? If they do that and they read up on the lore of that particular area, and we happen to run through that area in an adventure, I'm going to give them a bonus. I'm going to give their character a bonus. This may be a little meta stuff out there, but I'm going to give their character a bonus to any insight check or history check or lore check as they move through that area, because they themselves have spent the time to research that area.
Well, the thing is, I would do that if in character they would say, well, I have visited this place before, or there was, my father or someone I know has been here, has told me tales when I was young, and he can role play the knowledge.
Right.
The product I would like to see, because you were talking about 100-page, I would like to actually see a 24 to 32 page saddle stitch stapled, kind of like the old modules were, but of lore. And you could use that to be focused, because the big problem, I think, for companies, and companies are there to make money. Okay. I'm not here to discuss whether that's a good or a bad thing. That's just what it is. If WotC wants to sell more to players, what they could do is say, we're going to give you here are 4 books, they're just thin, 32, $10 each, lore of barbarian tribes. So you get that, you want to play your barbarian, here's like what my tribe was like, or lore of cities, and they're just plug and play, where they're not focused on a particular setting, they're just something players can use to enhance their character in something, to be something more fully fleshed out, without them having to make it all up. And then it's also easy to share that lore with a second player, like, we both come from the same tribe, or this tribe is warring with that tribe, you have the lore book talk, I'll come from that one, I'll come from this one. It'll make for an uneasy truce within the party with potential conflict. There's tons of great products they could focus at players that are lore driven. They don't even do them, and there'd be a great source of revenue in that sense. But don't want to make them $50 books.
Right. Well, what if they came out with like Now, hear me out. I think this is a brilliant idea. What if they came out with like a monthly thing that was like, I don't know, maybe 100, 112 pages, maybe, anywhere between 60 and 100 pages or so. You have two different versions of it, right? One version is adventures, where we actually delve into dungeons, right? And then the second part of it, then it's also monthly, is about lore and just little bits of news going on about,
Maybe-
in different settings.
Maybe information about dragons.
Yes, and it would be information about dragons, exactly. And maybe
the other one could be about dungeons.
Exactly. And maybe you tack the word magazine onto the end of those, and
Yeah.
That I'm glad I picked that up.
Yeah. Reading story.
Well, here's kind of my thought. Whatever they would do, whether it's a magazine, I'm not necessarily. Magazine is really kind of.
I know it's dicey. I mean, it's.
But you can't say it doesn't work. I mean, go into a Barnes and Noble; they still have like
all
a few
over the
hundred
place,
magazines,
yeah.
In the store. My thought would be, regardless of what it is, they need to put out some sort of product that is aimed at players, $20 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And part of the reason I say that is I have a thought process in my head, and I don't use it that often, but Kim manages the family budget.
Right.
Okay. She no longer yells at me when I spend, money at Taco Bell or whatever, as she did when we were younger, but that's a separate story. But I have it in my head that if I'm somewhere and there's something and it's right around $20, I'm not going to call her and say, hey, is it cool if I get this?
Right.
Because it's $20. So if there was something like that that's in that reasonable price range, that's not going to destroy a budget, but it's, it's here's a setting, here's a dragon guide, and here's a special blue dragon for this area. Or here's the barbarian book, and here's 3 new player options for enhancing your barbarian. Yes, obviously anybody can do those under OGL or Creative Commons, whatever the hell they're licensed under now. But something with that official stamp,
right. And that's the key difference. That's the key difference is, if we as players. I love third-party stuff. I love third-party content creators. I have got a lot of stuff from a lot of third-party creators, but having something official means a little bit more, carries a little bit more weight. Doesn't it? Let me rephrase. It doesn't mean a little bit more, but it carries a bit more weight with the material that's inside.
Barnes and Noble will carry it. I mean,
maybe.
But there's a higher probability that they'll carry it.
Well, I mean, didn't Wizards and them just kind of part ways?
I don't know. They still have a fat stack of content the last time I was in there, like a week ago.
Yeah. So they might have gone out of a direct deal with them, but that doesn't mean that Barnes and Noble doesn't have a distributor that distributes them.
Right.
So
you're thinking I think it was the Penguin Random House distribution. Right. And so they're just distributing it on their own. But Barnes and Noble's like, just give us 100 copies of everything or whatever. So
that actually reminded me, in our stream earlier, GameMasters, on the player handbook, you read out the price of the player handbook.
Right.
It occurred to me at the time, because I had to go look it up, but in Australia, that price is actually increased by $25.
Jeez.
Wow.
Oh.
For my player handbook, I paid $55 for it back when I first got it. The new one is going on sale at $76.
Even though it's got the same sticker price.
Yep.
Wow. See, that's an economy part. I just don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't think that has any bearing on WotC. I think that's more the political environment. That's, I mean, your legislatures and that kind of thing. But I don't know. Yeah, exchange rate, tariffs, stuff like that. But man, that sucks.
Yeah. And not to get too political, but this is kind of why I want the orange man in your government. Basically, because it will allow our government to pull out of that stupid fucking AUKUS thing, and then we can be free of that grip.
AUKUS?
Australia, UK, US defense pact.
Oh.
However, it's not really a defense pact when you take away our defense force and make us reliant on you.
Yeah.
I am all for other countries expanding their defense budgets.
Yes. Did you know we used to train your Top Gun pilots?
I did not know that.
Yeah, we did. In F-111s, no less. That were like 30 years past their...
So Australia trained Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Actually, I was say, didn't Australia keep using the 111 until like 5 or 10 years ago or something?
About 12 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
Because we kept them in such good condition.
Wow.
They were still like on par with the modern FA-18s and things like that at the time. Like we could, yeah, our pilots were stupid at getting those things to do loops around the at the time advanced aircraft. I've got too many friends in the Air Force to yeah, but yeah, it was funny.
Anyhow, off of politics. Not that I'm going to argue with you. I just, come on, it's Sunday morning. There's enough of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Wait, Sunday morning, that means we have to talk religion?
Let's
just jump from politics to religion. Let's see how often.
Yeah,
I am dressed for church. We start in an hour.
No. It's 3 minutes past midnight. It's Monday for me.
Yeah. We get to talk work. And even more important.
Clearly, Seraphis is in one of those weird half-hour time zones.
Yes, I am. I'm proud of it. It messes everyone else up.
That's okay. I live in Arizona. We don't do daylight savings time. Just trying to and anybody I talk to, it's like, okay, you're in Washington. I am going to schedule to have you on my show. Hey, so it'll be this time for you. And then they can't figure it out. I'm like, your time, your clock. Ignore my clock, and they don't figure out.
So what you're saying is you get along with Saskatchewan because they don't do daylight savings either,
and Hawaii and parts of Alabama. Whatever. Daylight savings time is stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. Just pick one, stay with it all year. It'd be so much easier.
The U.S. Senate I think the U.S. Senate had a bill in front of it, literally to just go with permanent daylight savings time. And no, just turn it off then.
just make every moment of every day 2 o'clock.
China,
just do away with time.
China has one time zone.
Yeah. But that's actually, so time zones are actually a good thing because China having one time zone, it's so big, it makes it stupid because some people literally but they still keep to the 9 to 5 schedule. So if you're on one end of the country, you have to get up like 2 hours before the sun rises. You get to work before the sun rises, and then the sun is still up until way late, which makes it really hard to go to sleep, and then you're really tired the next morning when you have to get up again at 2 hours before the sun rises. And then in other parts of the country, it's the opposite, where you get up, the sun's been risen for a couple hours, you go to work, you finish work, the sun's set for a couple hours. It's just makes it really hard for people to, you know, you
Yeah,
want
but
to
at least there's no problems coordinating times. I'll call you at 9.
Yeah.
No one is going to ask your 9 or mine.
Yeah.
It's still dumb though. I agree.
You know, I mean,
Hey,
I
Brian.
think I'd like to keep to summertime all the time, because I hate leaving work and it's night already, which is what happens with me in the winter, because the sun sets so early because we fell back an hour.
Or move south. I don't know.
So what is the humidity there, Brian, in Arizona?
This is Arizona. It's called 0. No, it's actually not that low. Give me a second. It's usually in like the 15 to 20% range.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It is currently 51% actually, because it's monsoon season.
Okay.
Wow. We have a where I'm at, it's a perpetual like 90% humidity, but it never rains. We're always constantly 41 to 51% chance of rain. But like right now, sun is out blazing. It's hot as hell, humid. And it's like trying to breathe in a sauna.
So Arizona is typically hotter than the sun. And then from June to like August-ish, maybe into September, is monsoon season. So then the humidity spikes. It might rain. It might not. It probably won't, because we still don't get that much rain. But then like you'll get like, I don't know if you've ever heard of a haboob. Like basically giant Middle Eastern dust storms. And we'll get that just right across town. Your cars are constantly covered in dirt.
It's pollen. We get that, but it's pollen here. Yeah.
We just call that an outback storm.
Mhm.
We just called them dust storms until like 5 years ago, and then somebody's like, "It's a haboob." I'm like, "That's just a funnier name, so we're gonna stick with that." Oh, and real quick, everyone's like, "Oh, but it's a dry heat. Dry heat is so much easier to deal with." You know what? It's still 8,000 degrees. When I have to go out to my car and use oven mitts to hold the steering wheel, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. It's bazillion degrees out, and I'm gonna die.
And I feel like people didn't actually start saying that. Yeah, but it's a dry heat. I don't feel like people started saying that until after the movie Aliens came out.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the same thing could be said of cold. You don't feel it doesn't feel as cold when it's dry.
But it's a cold heat.
It's a cold heat.
No, it's a dry cold.
At the end of the day, why do I live here? Ooh, Tori lived in Yuma. I'm sorry. Ooh, that's even worse than Phoenix. But everyone's like, "Why do you live there? It's so hot." And I'm like, "Because I don't have to shovel sunshine."
Yeah. I have to say, the precipitation being shovelable is not an advantage where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when you get snow measured in feet, you don't. I mean, it doesn't shut down the town, does it? The city.
No.
You still have to go into work, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can shut down places here because they're on fire.
No,
Yeah, so you don't get snow, you get fire.
Yes.
Oh.
What'll happen is when you get more than a foot of snow, and it'll all depend on the timing of things. Some schools might shut down for the day, just to give everyone a chance. The problem is parking, because you basically go outside and finding your car becomes a challenge because all you see are vaguely car-shaped
Right.
mounds of snow that one after the other. So you have to count. Okay, mine was the third from the end of the street. So one. Okay, that should be mine. Remove enough snow. Yeah, that's the right color. Hopefully, there's not a guy with a same color car right next to mine. And then, but you have to give. It takes them about 3-4 days to truck all the snow away.
Yeah.
But it's usually if there's if the snow if things shut down, it's usually the schools and some other things like that, and it's only usually for the day when it's snowing. The day after they'll be reopened. The only time we had a major shutdown was actually because back in '98 we had this ice storm, which I know a lot of people have heard of, where basically you have freezing rain. So there's rain falling, but whatever it hits, it freezes right then and there. So every electrical wire ends up with like a sleeve of ice. And a regular ice storm, you'll get 1 or 2 millimeters, like at most 1/16 of an inch of ice coating everything. Mind you, it makes walking really dangerous because everything's like super slippery. But this ice storm lasted for days, and we had like a 1/2 inch and more of ice coating everything. So like the high tension power lines, the pylons collapsed under the weight of the cables. We didn't have electricity for like 10 days.
Yeah,
so
we had
that
a
was the
storm like
biggest
that.
that was the biggest shutdown I remember ever. And that was like 26 years ago. And it was like storm of the century type thing.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out about like all the high temperatures right now, and it's like even still. So I'm almost 50. I've lived here literally my entire life, and we've never gotten to the high that we did in like 1980 something when it hit 122. 50 degrees for all of you metric folk. But
So summertime?
Yeah, right. But like normally it'll get like 118, 116 or something. Like it'll get hot.
40, 42.
But 122 was the highest I've ever seen it, but that was literally like 35, 40 years ago. So it doesn't get that hot anymore.
Yeah, well, we actually have fewer cold days here. I was talking about the precipitation being shovelable. We actually only had, I think the snow removal crews only came out 3 times last winter, which is usually they do that per month on a normal winter. And it's been going like that for years now it's great because the city has to spend less money on it. So my taxes haven't been going up as fast as most of my other expenses, which I'm very happy about. But it's not so much the record days that matter; it's the overall average everywhere in terms of.
Sure, but I've also heard like in the West, like the last couple of years have been ridiculously high snowfalls.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But it's also they have ridiculously high amounts of rain normally, so it's probably just less rain, more snow because I don't know.
Well, no, I'm talking like the Arizona Utah corridor. That's all desert.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant on the other side of the mountains. Okay.
Yeah, like Utah. Actually, so gonna bring a little bit of religion in this one. Just because it was kind of funny up in Utah. So the governor's Mormon, and like there was big drought. I know, surprising. And literally went out. He's like, if you're faithful, pray for rain, pray for snow. We need this, and like literally just got made fun of all over the internet. You're an idiot. What are you doing? And then literally it was like record snowfall, like broke every single snowfall record that they'd ever recorded for the area, and like just flooded everything out as it started melting. So that was pretty funny. Anyways.
You know, Mormon's only funny if they're also a ninja as well. So you got to have Mormon ninjas, man.
Yeah.
How do you know we don't?
Well,
Because they
that's the
haven't been
problem. If we don't know they
assassinated yet.
exist, then there's no fun to be had. I mean, come on, that's obvious.
I mean, you realize that like the CIA recruits heavily from the LDS Church, right?
I'm not surprised.
Language skills, foreign experience skills,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez.
generally trustworthy people.
Yeah.
Well, Gert's just outed himself as a asset, so we need to take him out now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to.
Are they
go,
actually your
guys.
children then, Brian, or are they just assets that you're utilizing?
Yes.
So I'm gonna have to go, guys. It was fun. See you next time. Take care.
See you, son.
Thanks.
See you, Grumpy.
So, and actually, the head of our church has a security detail, all recruited from the Secret Service. Maybe that's not necessarily a solid argument right now. Just saying. Anyways,
I'm holding back on commentary, just so you know.
look, I make fun of myself. Like as long as it's good natured, I usually don't care. You know, it's when people get insulting that's when I get upset. Oh, and last claim to fame I'm gonna put out there. Brother Browning was a member of the church, as in, you know, the Browning M2 machine gun or 1911 or, you know, a variety of other firearms still in use. So we might have ninjas. Just saying.
You're a problem.
I'm a problem. How am I the problem?
I will be back in a moment. I have a child that's just gotten up, so
Wow.
That's how I feel usually when I wake up.
That's how I feel. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So, Brian, what's the your go-to? I asked this earlier of Seraphis. What is your go-to game of choice for like video games, specifically video games, like either in the past or currently that you go to play just to blow off steam?
Lately, none. It's really weird,
right?
Like, so somebody was saying, like, what was somebody was like, "Oh, you need to play this." I'm like, "Okay," and so I went and I bought it, and it was like $30 or something, and I don't even remember the name of it. Give me a second. But like, I start playing it, and it's a first-person something. Satisfactory. That's it.
Oh yeah, I've played that.
Yeah.
I got into it for a little bit, but I mean, then it just kind of got to the point where, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, where you basically build this factory using different resources that you can find in the wilderness, and every now and again there's like these big dinosaur creature things that come at you.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
And hey, Seraphis is back.
Did anyone say cunt?
No, we did not. That's not really
Come
in
on.
my lexicon. Anyways, but I'm playing it, and I'm one of those weirdos that gets nauseous on first person shooters, and so it just it doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
I've been playing BattleTech, which is fine. I just haven't played it in a couple of months.
Yes, we miss your streams.
I'll get there.
It's a disparating comfort and boost that we're trying to give you. You know, like we tear you down to build you up.
Yes,
you know?
I appreciate it. But yeah, so it's like I don't know. Video games just don't do it for me like they did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I played all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just nowadays it's like I'd rather paint some miniatures, dig through a book. I even suck at reading lately, which sucks. You know, get my, try and get my laser working again. You know, I do any of those instead of video games lately, sadly.
No.
Oh, I think try to get your laser working again.
I have a laser engraver.
A lot of fun those are.
They are.
Yeah.
Less fun when I thought you might have had a laser gun, but you know.
Oh, I hit myself with the laser once. That hurt.
Note to self: do not laser engrave a tattoo.
I've seen people do that.
I know.
That's dumb. No, mine was even dumber. It's a Chinese laser, so you don't get a lot of the precision tools built into it. Like you buy an American made laser, it'll have rulers and all sorts of stuff built into it. Mine doesn't. So I'm trying to jury rig something, but I want to figure out, okay, where's my exact XY points and whatnot. And so I put some painter's tape down, but of course it's curling up. So I'm like, oh, let's take that and hold it. So I'm just holding on to the end, and then I push the button to just fire a single dot of the laser, and I've got it just like this, and this finger sitting here. So I'm pulling on the tape to hold it flat, and just zap hits my finger, and I'm like, that hurts.
Wow.
So anyhow, but yeah, no, I've got to swap out some parts. It's old enough that all of the tubing in the cooling unit dry rotted out.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't really know what it had done, and I'm like, I'll just keep filling it up with water, it'll be fine. It was not.
Wasn't not fun. Yeah, I had a sandblasting engraving machine that you print out on vinyl, a design, and then you reverse weed that and put that on stuff like glass or even wood,
right,
or whatever, and then you put it in this big box and you turn on an air compressor and it shoots sand, silica, at the material, and wherever that vinyl sticker is, or wherever it's not, rather, engraves into that glass or wood or whatever the substrate,
right,
be plastic, whatever. And then with that finished, you just peel all that material off, and you can rub in some color compound or something to kind of give that
right,
relief, make it pop. But yeah, I had a lot of dry rot in some of the hoses of that, and so I'm sitting here one day. Of course, you've got this cabinet where you put your hands into these big gloves, and I'm sitting here doing this, and it's basically a gun that you pull a trigger on, and it's attached to a hose that leads out to the air compressor. Well, that hose had dry rotted.
right.
So I'm sitting here with my hands inside the cabinet, but the hose itself dry rotted on the outside of the cabinet. So I'm sitting here pulling the trigger, and I guess I pulled the hose too hard, and it kind of shredded right there as the hose goes into the cabinet. So on the outside wall of the cabinet, on this outside wall, that hose just starts kind of going free like this, and silica is just going everywhere outside the cabinet. I'm like, oh crap. So yeah, I had to do an emergency shut off on the air compressor, and it took me probably a good 2 weeks to get all that stuff cleaned up because it was microparticles and everywhere.
Yeah, for me, like I want to figure out stuff that like my audience would be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the laser. I can make tokens. I can make
Sure.
things, whatever, and use that just to supplement everything. But it's just trying to figure out what to do. But the machine's also like 10 years old, so then it's like, okay, do I need to do some upgrades? The wife is not too keen on me doing the upgrades due to cost.
No.
But it's still just a fun tool to have.
Sure.
Like she keeps suggesting that I get rid of it. It's like, no, it was $14,000 new when I bought it, a decade ago. There's no way I'm ever going to get a replacement if I get rid of this one. So I was like, no, this stays.
Yeah, I have a coffee maker like that.
She's saying that I should go instead of the laser at this point.
Yeah, Grim frequently has the same opinion about my stuff than me. My stuff can stay. I can go.
Yeah, I identify with that too.
Kim keeps threatening to get like her own. She's like, I'm just gonna go get an apartment and live there by myself. I'm like, no.
You can't. So, we're too deep into this by now.
Right, exactly. And yes, she's hearing everything I'm saying. Not what you guys are saying, but what I'm saying. So.
Oh, well, that's just perfect for me. I can just start going off random and try to provoke you into saying things then, huh?
Oh, so what else is everyone playing these days?
Keep the sanity. I'm failing miserably.
Yeah, I don't know. Video game wise, I'm kind of playing Elden Ring. That's a love-hate relationship. I like the game, but I hate the game at the same time. D&D, Dragonbane for tabletop role-playing. Gonna check out Symborum. Supposed to be getting that in next week. I'll check that out. That's about it for me.
I've got a 3.5 D&D game every fortnight. So next week at this time, I'll be exhausted coming home from a D&D game that will go for 8 hours and we'll probably go through half a room.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds about
Epic
right.
level. Epic level. Yep.
What level is everybody?
My guy's only what are we up to? 16. But the everyone else is between level 22 and 24 now, I think.
Oh wow.
Yep.
How'd you get so far behind?
I only just joined the game.
Ah, fair enough.
Well, relatively speaking, I only just joined the game a year ago. If you couldn't guess by how it progresses,
okay.
Yeah.
So here's a question: you guys have all run D&D before, or role-playing games in general. So how do you deal with something like that when other players are, and I would say that's kind of a significant advanced or a significant jump in level between, if everybody else is around 22 and you're 16, I mean, that's a pretty good enough gap. As a DM, do you just tell the new player, go ahead and roll up a level 22 character, or level whatever character.
Mm.
Or do you have, like, Seraphis, what level did you start at?
15.
Wow, so in a year you've gained 1 level?
Yes.
Woof.
Well, remember, they're only getting through like half a room per session.
Right.
Yeah, and 3.5 Artificer has a crafting reserve that doesn't carry over. So if I don't use that up, I'm going to lose at this level like 2,000 experience that could... a crafting reserve that could be used for experience.
Right.
That's up to 2,000 XP points.
Right.
And so I've actually been holding off on level ups. I think I should be up to about 2 by now, because we're the party's scaled to the other players. So we're fighting at minimum like minions who are level 18 and bosses or sub bosses who are like level 24, level 25. The Jarl giant who's in charge of this place, we're estimating is probably going to be like level 30 or something. So that's going to be a big tough battle. But yeah, I'm basically holding off because Artificer is more strategic and I need to hold off as much as I can.
Well, but why not? I mean, for lack of a better way to put it, why not just spend the reserve, get your items crafted, and get leveled up?
There's no way to do it.
Don't understand. Oh,
like we're in the middle of essentially a trench run.
You're in the middle of the dungeon.
Yeah. Basically, they found a spelljammer, a crushed spelljammer that was being researched by these giants, and my dude was part of a essentially stasis lock of creatures that this spelljammer had collected, and that's how they recruited me into the team. But like since then, and that was still in the dungeon essentially, so we haven't gone back. And the entire giant keep has a forbiddance on it, an epic level forbiddance being generated by the goddess Hel. So we can't teleport out.
Yeah, so you can't teleport out. Yeah.
Honestly, in a situation like that, as the DM, I would just house rule something. Maybe you don't lose. Maybe you only lose like half of the crafting pool or something. So yes, there's a penalty for leveling up, but I would not want my players that split up, especially if I'm trying to throw in level 30.
But you're standing toe to toe with with the monsters too, though, right? Or I mean, is it more like, are you taking more of a backstage combat?
As an artificer, I'm because I designed him around being a hortificer, so having lots of homunculi,
right?
The Eberron kind, so even better. Right. But I didn't get to start with any homunculi, so I had to adjust how my starting equipment was built up. So with that, I had I put stuff into my defense. So I'm about I'm not tanky level like the tanks in the group, but I'm like at least 10 AC higher than the spellcasters. So I'm on par with our war cleric, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. About 37 AC, I think I've currently got. So, and I've got my infusions to be able to like boost that up to plus, like give it another +5. So, Yep.
I don't know. That would be my suggestion, on how to bump them up.
Yeah.
That's also Yeah, that just seems like the DM the DM is doing something wrong by allowing that. I don't know.
I'm not complaining, basically, because in downtime we've already worked out a way for me to basically catch up, even if I only gain one level next, like once we've got the downtime going. But yeah, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Dragon Ball, but we're basically going to create a hyperbolic time chamber, put a crafting station in there, and then I'm just going to have dedicated rights, just going back and forth, mass producing big long magic item requirements in like a day.
But does it require you to scream for a week? You're the one that brought Dragon Ball into this.
Well, probably between sessions it will, yes. Although that's a fortnight, so that's 2 weeks of screaming. So it's on par for the Namek Saga.
I didn't watch Dragon Ball.
No. That's the one where the planet will explode in 5 minutes, 2.5 weeks later.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it came out at a time that I was not watching. And then I tried to go back, and I'm just like, I've tried multiple times to go back and watch it. I'm like, I can't do this.
No. I'm kind of in a weird spot with other people, because like my Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and then nothing else. Oh, the movies, the original movies anyway. And then then there's people who are talking to me because they like Dragon Ball, and they're talking to me about Super, and then superheroes, and then, well, no one talks about GT, but like there's just all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what any of that is.
Those are words.
They are words, and on their own, I recognize them. I don't know what they are in context. Like Dragon Ball Z Kai, I keep hearing about this, but I don't know what it is. It looks like it's Dragon Ball Z, but it's called Dragon Ball Z Kai, and I do not understand what it is. Why is it Kai? I don't understand.
Never did get into any of that.
You mean like anime in general, or
yeah, in general. I mean, I don't know. I guess back in the day, I watched, like your old classic stuff, like Vampire Hunter D, even some of the more like raunchy ones, if you want to call them raunchy, like Yurosoka Doji. So I mean, but that beyond that, I don't know, couldn't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
You see, ironically, that is my actual physical collection. Things like Dragon Ball's. Now it's on my brain. Things like Vampire Hunter D, Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell, like all these old classic titles. A lot of them with the same artist, ironically. Oh, the original Bubblegum Crisis too, because I've always had a thing for cyberpunk. That is what the majority of my collection is, and yeah, I really haven't gotten into any modern. I know Bear was. Yeah,
I was just saying, I just like trolling people that I really, really like Robotech, because it will make like either they're going to be like a kid from the 80s who is like, oh man, I really like that too, or they're going to be that that younger person who's just like, oh, it's so inferior to Macross. I'm like, okay, I didn't have Macross. I had Robotech, and it was great.
And it was kind of like me and a buddy of mine. He always had Transformers. I couldn't afford the Transformers, so I got GoBots.
Yeah.
See, I'm in an interesting position in the Oceania region because back before a certain country kind of pushed more of their copyright stuff onto us, hint, hint, we were getting in essentially bootleg copies of anime straight from Japan. And so we had Robotech, and then on our special broadcasting service channel, we had bootlegs of Macross playing. So, like, I got to see Macross 2. I got to see the original Macross movie, Do You Remember Love? So I've got this. I grew up with both.
Yeah, no, and trust me, we had bootlegs too. And what I think is hilarious is just the fact that it's not all good. There is some that they made that it's like this is horrible. But anyways, like I said, I just like trolling people because it's like they made some good stuff, and then Palladium made, at least in my opinion, a really good role-playing game. Like
the Robotech one or the Macross 2 one?
No, Robotech. That's literally like what I would say got me. Like, it's actually like it's been interesting this last year as I've delved a bit more into role-playing. Like starting to see things as far as like how did I actually end up getting into all of this? Because like the first one that I ever bought was Robotech. My first experience would have been D&D, and I got invited over to a kid's house. And actually, speaking of ninjas, I made a ninja character, and then we never played, and I never got invited back. Don't know why. That's a whole separate issue. But then I was also like, I was in our used bookstore that I like going to. Kim's got me cleaning out the garage, so I've got like just a mountain of credit over there. And and I go in, and they have the second edition Monster Compendium binder, and it's packed full. Come to find out, it has sets 1 through 5 in the binder, and I picked up 2 more sets on top of that. But the reason I'm telling that story is that's probably my first real encounter with a role-playing game, because the kid that invited me over, were in some assembly at school, and pulls out this binder and is showing me, all these D&D monsters, and I have no idea what this all is, but it is the coolest thing in the world, and I love that, like, it's a binder and you can add stuff and move it all. Oh my gosh, it was great. So I saw it at the bookstore. I'm like, yoink, this is mine now. I don't even have second edition books. I don't care. Anyways, I would like to see the Monstrous Compendium return in its original format.
Yeah. I get the feeling a lot of those things aren't going to happen.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, well, think about it. It's got problems. Okay, so you're going to sell somebody stuff that's essentially 3-hole punch to stick in a binder. How many of us had the stuff that was 3-hole punch stuck in a binder and just tears right out? It's a cool idea. It's a cool concept. Does not necessarily hold up.
Yeah,
but
probably the majority of my stuff is like that.
That's true.
Oh dear. I'm contemplating the time as to whether I should stop or not.
Yeah, I'm. It's about time I got to get going too because we got stuff that we got to get done today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to leave in a couple minutes for church as well. So,
yep. Well, that's pretty perfect then. Well, I would normally try to keep this to be about an hour going forward, but if we're just in the rhythm, I don't mind going longer, but close to 1 a.m.
Time to crash.
Pretty much.
Exactly. Well, thanks for having me.
That's perfectly all right. Yeah, so I'm probably going to try to do this around this time every week. That's 11 p.m. for me, but whatever it is for you guys. So yeah, and bring whatever conversation you want to bring. As I said, this is Talking Drek, so have at it, have fun, and hopefully it's entertaining enough that people in chat are interested enough too. I mean, Tori's conversating along with us, so
Yeah.
So
I need to
thanks
get
for being
her
here,
in this
Tori.
next time too.
Yes, I will extend the link. Wow, brain shutting off.
Well, you did say it's almost 1 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Understandable.
And I've done 3 streams today.
Yeah.
I've done yours, and then Grim commented on something earlier, and so we did a 24-minute podcast. That's what our conversations are commonly like with us. So if you want some chaos to listen to, that's up on my channel. So yeah, if you guys want to shill anything, plug anything,
just subscribe to this guy. Subscribe to both of these guys.
And both of these guys for me.
I would say subscribe to both of these two, but like probably everyone that's on my channel is already subscribed to at least one of you. We're kind of in the same orbit, so
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, and I will think of a clever sign off at some point.
But not today.
But not today.
But not this morning. All right, laters.
Night, everybody.
See ya.